An excerpt from In Gratitude for the Universe's Gracious Divisions. We know that though our beloved friends of the ship Diligence were cut off from us temporarily, yet they are still part of the One and the All, more swiftly made part of the One than we had hoped, but all the more fully with us all. Let us not turn to grief, which isolates and pulls us inward, but to gratitude, which connects and enlivens. In the spirit of this gratitude and connection, let us recognize our place within the One and the All. We who are the universal embodiment celebrate how we are a perfect mirror of the divine. In the spirit of this gratitude and connection, let us recognize our place within the One and the All. We, who are the universal embodiment, celebrate how we are a perfect mirror of the divine, each of us born for the One to live through, and connected and embraced within the All. We are not the solitary creation of an ego turned to machine to reproduce itself. We do not seek to put ourselves above our physical bodies by subjugating other living beings to our whims. Our development of virtue occurs through the long, lifelong process of learning and living in a body and within a community of bodies. Let us embrace this opportunity to reclaim our true personhood and help all understand their right relationship with the One and the All.
Hello, and welcome to the Storyplayers podcast. My name is Birdie. I am your host, but not your GM, because today we will be playing Session 0 for our game of Kingdom by Ben Robbins. If you have listened to our past few episodes, you'll already know a bit about this world from our game of Microscope. Hopefully this answers some of your questions and gives a better view of how we'll be playing inside of it. And if you're just jumping in here, that is totally okay. I am so excited to introduce the world to you. I will be joined today by my friends Maiden.
You cannot find me. Don't look for me.
Goals, honestly. Pax?
Hi, I'm Pax. You can find me at Twitter at PaxAttacks. That's P-A-X-E attacks.
Mariana.
Hi, I'm Mariana. You cannot find me online. That's it.
Molly.
Hi, I'm Molly. You can find me on Twitter for now at Shakes and Tea.
And finally, you can find the show at Storyplayers Pod on Twitter and Tumblr. Especially go give our Tumblr a look. We have some cool stuff up there. Stuff like character bios and hopefully some art. And the full timeline that we wrote for our Microscope game. And with that, let's begin our Session 0. Like I said, we will be playing Kingdom, a role-playing game about communities by Ben Robbins. I am going to begin by reading in part a page labeled Read This Page Aloud, just to give us an idea of what this game is, what it's about. Kingdoms are all around us. Groups are stronger than individuals. In a kingdom, we can work together to do great things. But we may not agree what path our kingdom should take or what it should stand for. Can your vision of the kingdom work with mine? Can everybody get what they want? Because if you're part of the kingdom, it makes demands of you too. You're pressured to do what it thinks is right. The question becomes, do you change the kingdom, or does the kingdom change you? As players, we all have equal authority to influence the story. It's up to each of us to push the kingdom in directions we find interesting. What will our kingdom do? What will it become? Will it stay true to its ideals, our ideals, or will we burn it to the ground? The kingdom's fate is in our hands.
So, very broadly, we know that our kingdom is a space station that is inhabited but not necessarily a big, like, cultural hub in a star system on the brink of war. So before we get into anything else, all of us have created factions that our characters come from. Each of us comes from a different faction with its own distinct culture. And I'd like to go ahead and introduce those factions. So I believe I will go first. All right. My characters are from the Municipalities of Tetra, full name, the Glorious Alliance of the Municipalities of Tetra, united by valor, bolstered by strength. The Municipalities of Tetra is a warlike collection of city-states on a planet that we still have to name.
Yep.
Somewhere between, like, if a military dictatorship and a monarchy had a very vaporwave baby. The aesthetics are, like, Y2K futurism, harsh lines, big shoulder pads, like Greco-Roman influence, but not in like the classical way, in like the vaporwave way, glass, chrome. They're really into like metallic, shiny silver stuff. There's a lot of like mineral wealth, and that means they just like to make everything really shiny. I just kind of said to myself, like, why, when we have shitty warlike factions, why do they all just have to look boring? What if the Hunger Games was right? The general state of affairs of Tetra right now is the Queen, Nautilus Zirconium, has finally pushed her population over the edge. An angry mob stormed the palace with torches, the plan being to burn the entire thing down with her inside. Nobody's seen the queen since, but nobody's also found a body, which is significant. Gonna bring in my personal favorite Tetra fact. The only people in Tetra that are able to have officership in the military is the nobility. But they still like to think of themselves as a meritocracy. So, if you are able to kill a noble, you get their title, and that is, like, totally legal. Assassination is legal as long as you're successful. If you fail, then obviously you're just a power-hungry, like, good for nothing, and you're going to jail for the rest of your life. But if you do manage to successfully kill a noble, then obviously they were not taking care of their population. They're very noblesse oblige about it, and they deserve to die. So the fact that nobody's found the queen's body has basically triggered a horrible succession crisis, because nobody even knows if she's dead or not, and if she is, who's the queen?
Seems like your problem.
Which peasant was holding the torch? She also didn't name who of her children was going to be her successor, so all of them have joined in on the fight. It's a mess. The fragile piece of the municipalities is on the knife's edge of collapse. Thank God we're not playing there. They're having a problem. Also, Tetrans are colorful. They're pastel colors ranging from, like, blue skin, green skin. There's probably some orange ones out there. Pink ones. I like pink. And they all have a set of extra eyes on their shoulder blades. Is that good? Is there anything else we need to know about Tetra before I move on? Anybody have any questions?
I want to know how the shoulder blade eyes has affected clothing throughout Tetra's history.
Thank you for that question, because I've thought a lot about this, actually. So I talked about the, like, big shoulder pads being a thing. There's also the kind of, like, quote-unquote masculine cut of clothing involves a cutout in the back, kind of like a almost arrow-shaped cutout in the back of a blazer. They're also very into, like, drape. The quote-unquote feminine cut is more of a, like, fabric draped over the shoulders that ends up giving you, like, a very low back. So there's a lot of, like, open back stuff. You don't want to, like, have your eyes get covered up, so they are very into either geometric cutouts in the back or low draped fabrics.
Interesting.
Cool. There's also I have a very long document about these guys. I only read like a quarter of what I have, but I think they have mechs because I think mechs are cool and I want them to exist in this world, even if they're really not our focus at all. And the way that like being a mech pilot in Tetra is like being a fighter pilot in contemporary military. The way that they control them is through a spinal implant that looks very cool. And there's absolutely a fashion statement around like fabric manipulation that mimics the way that the spinal implant looks. You can't like if it looks too much like one, then that's not cool. That's like stolen valor and people will judge you for it. But having like a weird kind of ridged thing that goes down the middle of the back of a garment is like kind of a way to make yourself look and seem more powerful. Thanks to that association.
I love them, to be honest.
Thank you. I think they're all horrible, but I love them for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes them interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Like
doing
these
a
nobles.
whole revolt and then still being like, no, but which one of us did kill her is extremely funny.
Yeah, like, okay, is it the person that... Because, like, the person that planned this revolt is like, I'm the queen now because I masterminded this whole thing. And then someone else is going to be like, well, I burned down this room that she was probably in, so it was my torch, so I'm the queen now. And all her kids are like, what about us? If it's unclear, it should go to us, and nobody knows what they're doing down there.
It's truly very convenient.
Oh,
For now, it's takeover.
Oh, do you want to go next?
I think I should go next.
You want to go next? I think
I should go next.
Tell us about your faction.
So my faction, as I don't think we talk about it, but as Birdie may have implied, my faction is also from the same planet.
Yeah.
Which
Different
continents, same planet. We don't like each other at all.
No.
Like, terrible.
Stop taking advantage of my secession crisis.
Somebody has to.
Okay.
And it's gonna be me.
Okay.
So,
I don't think someone has to.
So, let's see. I'm reading the documents. My faction name, my continent, is called Umbra, which, I guess, fun fact, is also a fish.
It's a fish?
Yeah.
All right, we're both fish.
We're both
fish.
Mm-hmm.
We're the fish factions.
We are the fish faction. Maybe our planet should be named something.
We need to name our planet after a fish.
Yeah.
We can name it after a sea robin.
We are not doing that. We are not doing that.
Hey, listeners, if you want to see a really fucked up fish, Google sea robin. They're horrible.
Do not
I
do
hate
that.
them. They're so bad. I hate them.
Don't do it.
Why do they look like that?
They're
I hate
apparently
it.
flaky and tasty.
What?
I think they
no.
look very polite. I think everyone's being mean to them.
You would think that.
Okay.
I think they're a pest.
Yes, I agree. But also, coming back to this,
Yeah, tell me about Umbra.
yeah, let's talk about Umbra. So the faction type is an oligarchy. So basically, government figureheads that never change, the whole thing. So it's a military oligarchy where you trade freedom for safety, basically. The population is unified by a plant-based hive mind that, fun fact, they don't use. And you may ask yourself, why don't you use it? Well, because it's too personal. Just don't touch people. Don't use your hive mind. Why do you want to be so personal with other people?
I'm so obsessed with this whole culture that is like built around the fact that they do have a hive mind, and they're like, no, this is bad.
It's bad. It's bad for secrets. It's bad for a government. It's bad for a military construct government. Like, it doesn't work. So we should just don't use it. So that's why everybody's very covered up in my little faction. So yeah, about the freedom for safety, I was trying not to make something too black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important to what I was trying to accomplish here. So we will figure this out later.
Like, all these guys kind of suck, but none of them are, like, the bad guys.
Yeah, exactly. And I hate to say that, but, maybe also with your own faction. They're not all so bad.
Maybe.
There have to be a 5% there.
got-
That you have to
Listen,
be.
they throw great parties.
Okay, that's good enough for me. that for me, perfect. Also, the aesthetic is slay.
Thank you. The aesthetic is like, how can I be evil if I look this good?
Exactly. So about my own aesthetic. So what I try to tell Birdie about it is that it was an abstract eco-brutalism. I love brutalism. And I was like, okay, but what if we add green to it? And what if we add something abstract just to make it weird?
So can you describe what that, like, what kind of shapes are we seeing?
Oh boy. Abstract. Okay, no.
I'm sorry,
so-
I didn't
no,
mean, I don't
no,
mean
that
to give you
is
a pop
fine.
quiz.
How dare you? How dare you? So there's a lot of strange shapes, a lot of concrete buildings, but they all kind of like match very well with the plants that grow in the wild in this faction, which by the way they're blue. I hope you all like that.
The plants are blue.
The plants are blue because I like it. There's a lot of sharp lines. Like I want everything to be very square, but at the same time it's not like boring. I know this makes absolutely no sense. I understand, believe me.
No, I can visualize it.
Yeah. You know, imagine a square and then imagine another square, but it's not in the square. It's outside the square, and there's something blue.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah.
It's so clear.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't understand this?
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically that's what we're going for. Hopefully I will have some sketches done by them, at least to give a sense of like what is happening in this faction. So, state of affair, let's jump to that.
Yeah.
So, we're in the middle of an interplanetary peace talk when, well, as you eloquently put it, shit hit the fan in Tetra.
Woo!
Isn't it? Well, that is bad for you, but
Yeah.
actually very good for me.
Yeah.
Since now this is our biggest enemy, and now that they're in a moment of weakness, we are just posturing propaganda and recruitment efforts in the neighboring factions in preparation of crushing them once and for all. So we are trying just to kill you guys.
Yeah.
You cannot suck.
Yeah.
So we want you gone.
All right. I probably don't have to read the entire cultural notes thing. It's also very long.
No, yeah, I'm not reading that.
But are there any kind of highlights you want to hit? One of my favorite things we talked about when we were building this faction is like the way the hive mind works comes from kind of the nature around us. It comes from the moss.
It comes from the moss for the blue plants. Basically, the moss is also blue.
Everything's blue. Here.
Everything is kind of blue, kind of greenish, kind of, teal.
But the longer, if you stay in Umbra long enough, you actually gain access to this hive mind. It's not a biological thing, it's an environmental thing.
Yep, it is not a biological thing. That's why we accept every single species from the planet. You just have to be open to become one winner faction. Once you become one winner faction, then you get accepted by the moss and you start winning this kind of hive mind thing, which proves that you are part of us now.
The citizenship exam is taken telepathically.
Basically, we joke, but that's basically how it works. And once you're part of them and they can read your mind in this exam, they know what your actual goals are. If they are not to become part of the faction, well,
Yeah, rip to any spy.
yeah, sorry, man.
They can read your mind.
Yeah.
They know everything about you.
But if things goes right, hey, welcome.
Yeah, if you're just here for a good time.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
gonna have a good time.
You just have a good time working every day, but hey, you get food.
You're gonna be very well taken care of.
Yes. No freedom, but hey, you're gonna
Safety.
be fine. You're gonna be safe. And that's really what matters.
Right. Does anybody have any questions about Umbra?
Thank God.
All right.
Me sweating. Please
God.
do not question me.
Okay.
I could also talk a little bit about how the people in Umbra look like.
Yeah, yeah. What do your aliens look like?
Well, guess who also have extra eyes?
Woo!
Us.
Extra eye crew.
Extra eye crew. We come from the same planet. We have to have extra eyes, except that mine are not in the shoulder blade. They are on our foreheads, basically.
And it's kind of like up and down. So like
It's
side to
up and
side.
down, and it connects with a kind of halo that grows from their forehead. They are kind of on the tall side, but they're still very humanoid, very kind of, quote unquote normal looking, except for the extra eye and the halo, and the color, which is probably kind of greenish, since everything is kind of greenish, kind of bluish. Yeah, we keep it in the nature.
That moss.
That moss.
That moss.
It's a whole thing. And that's, I think for now, that's good enough. Yeah.
So, I have a question for you.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if they hate the hive mind, and the hive mind comes from the moss, why don't you get rid of the moss?
We are not talking about this. You know what happened with the moss?
Yeah, it's a leading question.
Yeah, no.
You don't want to.
Listen.
Tell them about your national embarrassment.
We are not talking
the
about.
moss war
We are not talking about the moss
that you
war.
lost.
We didn't lost. We just decided that it was better to work with the moss.
These
because-
motherfuckers went to war against moss and lost.
Well, why don't
like
you have a
Australians.
fight with the moss?
We're fine. We're over here.
Yeah, what? You should try. You should try to see if you win.
No, we're good.
No, you
We're
should
good
try.
over here.
You should try. I'm sure you're gonna do great. I'm sure the moss will not fuck you up. We're not talking about the moss wars.
All right. Moving on. Who wants to go next?
Ooh.
Gonna start calling on people. Pax.
Hi. I was hoping I would escape you.
You groaned, and that meant your icon was lit up.
No.
You fool.
My whimpering revealed my location.
You heaved too close to the sun.
Okay. I'm a little unsure about how to introduce them. I guess we can start with the name.
Yeah.
So,
Did you come up with a name? Because
yes, I did.
the title of the document that I'm looking at just says Soft Boy Robots.
Yes, well, I mean, you called them that. That was not me. That it
Am I
is what they
wrong?
are. It is what they are, but it's not their entirety. So my faction is based on the space shuttle / now active satellite, the Splendor Soleil, which is
The Splendor what?
Soleil or Solus or Solace, I don't know, SOLIS, which means like the splendor of the sun, by the way. It's taken from an alchemical manuscript thing that I found, and I was like, wow, this is fascinating. I love the name. I'll steal that. Nothing else, I guess. This is... I guess we can start kind of like with the history of how this kind of like shuttle started.
Yeah.
Which is, what if one guy decided that the only person that could fully understand him is a robot clone of himself, and then was like, nobody else can have my robot clones. I'm going to take to the stars and run away from like my previous home and keep making these robot clones in search of God, essentially, in search of like this truth of the matter, which is basically like the mythology that this society uses and is not actually known to be the truth, right? No one really exists from there anymore. And because these are all like robot clones of the original creator, they also have this impulse to create essentially like younger brothers for themselves. So we have this self-perpetuating robot society made out of clones of the same person, and none of them remember that they're robots anymore. They all know that they're building robots, but they all think they're human. They just have human memories, and they're just constantly making more of themselves. So this is like a space station of self-perpetuating robot clones who are constantly looking for God via themselves and via this process of creation.
And they kind of like grow out of the knowledge that they are a robot.
Yes, so each younger brother, each robot in the society is born with human memories. So the older brothers usually take it as a sign to kind of be chill and don't mention the fact that, like, haha, you're a person I created myself. But yeah, they all, like, grow up with the same set of memories. So, like, if they actually, like, took the time to, like, talk to each other, they all assume they're probably, like, cousins or distantly related, as, like, a lot of
They all look
spaceships
the
are.
same.
They don't all look the same. Like, there are, like, variations as, like, robots get, like, creative. There are, like, plenty that do, but there are, like, differences in them. But they all look like cousins. They all look like they come from the same egg, essentially, you know? Yeah. So that's the kind of thing where you guys have, like, planets and this kind of stuff. This is very much like a satellite, like, in orbit around a planet rather than living in a planet. Yeah.
Was it a satellite or was it a fleet?
So at first it was just a single spaceship until the original progenitor died. And then they just decided that, like, we can't really keep on going out there. And they decided to settle down. And it's kind of built out from there. So at its core, there's probably, like, a tiny spaceship stuck to this thing. Where it's just completely covered by other, like, parts.
Do you want to read the aesthetics? Talk
Sure.
about that a little bit?
So, a lot of the aesthetics of this place are, like, crystals and jewel tones, a lot of, like, reflections and lights and mirrors, but everything is, like, a little, like, melted and gross and grimy. So, like, I think the statement I used with you, Bird, is that it's, like, a stained glass window, but the metal, like, inlays are all melted, and they're just constantly dripping down. It's really gross and kind of, like, dulls the entire look of the place. And, like, I guess my approach for this was I was struggling with putting to mind, like, how a society would function, and I decided to go for, what if everybody was so individualized they didn't, like, fully, like, understand each other, you know? So it's basically a society completely of individuals, where no one questions anything.
If they ever, like, actually really talked to each other about this, they'd probably notice that they all have the same childhood.
Exactly. Or they'd, like, notice that, like, the ship keeps growing and there's no, like, certain goal that they can really make for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
there's a real poetry to, like, a society of clones that's so self-centered they don't realize.
Yeah, like, no one... The thing is, like, you never go back to your original family. You have to make your own one. It's this inherent driving force within you where you just have to keep on making. So each, like, younger brother gets sent off out of the house, and once they're out, they never come back. It's this weird kind of, like, it's almost like, yeah, the original progenitors kind of, like, fight or flight got directly implanted into all of them, and they're all running away from something. Trapped in a little station with each other, you know?
Yeah. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the Splendor Soleil?
Thank God as well.
I was gonna ask where you source all your materials for building the new clones.
That's the thing, right? It's probably, like, trade and all that kind of stuff between, like, planets and different, like, solar systems. But it's very much like, we go out and get our stuff, and then we come back. Do not step foot in our, like, little zone. They're very, like, protective and encased, I guess is the word I would use. I don't know.
So it's like each kind of individual has their trading set up versus the whole economy is like one trading unit. Oh, that's
absolutely.
Yeah. You get what you need for yourself. We're not really in this together.
Yeah. I don't even think, like, you know, like, most places it's like, oh, we can go, like, hang out for a second. I don't know if they talk to each other outside of, like, bare minimum conversation. I think there's, like, this all, like, consuming search for creating, like, the next perfect being. You know, like...
What if a society was entirely made up of, like, the shitty mad scientist that, like, just locks himself in their room and creates all the time?
Literally. So, yeah, they definitely have, like... They definitely have a government, but everybody is so focused on their own shit that everybody's like, oh, I'm not really into politics.
Yeah, what we have written down is a society is governed by a trio of AI that know the whole truth and their full purpose. Nobody else really knows about this AI because they don't care.
Society just works and we don't question it. There's a lot of things we don't question. Everyone is so caught up in their own personal search, no one is looking up. No one's looking up.
Do they think that, like, there's other people that are doing other things?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They think they're the only person not interested in politics. So, like, everyone has this rich individual world that is completely not, like, in line with reality.
I love that for them.
Delusional robots is essentially what I'm going with here. And they're all looking for God, which is an incredibly good and definitely not ominous thing that's going on.
What could go wrong with that?
It's definitely fine. Everything is fine.
Speaking of, Molly, how's your search for God going?
I'm so glad you asked.
Great segue.
It's going everywhere. So my faction is, we're a theocracy, we're a death cult, but
Hell
light
yeah.
on the death.
Light on the death.
Light on the death.
Do they have a name?
We have a lot of names. The Seekers, the Beloveds, Children of Light, but the one that we kind of use for ourselves is the Family.
Great.
Yeah, we're just a big happy family. And so this faction started on Earth, actually, and it was a wellness retreat that a bunch of different people went on, and no one quite remembers anymore who kind of advertised the wellness retreat or who organized it, but during one of the afternoon meditation sessions, something happened, and they did all genuinely have a moment of enlightenment where all their brains came together, they turned into a hive mind, and they touched the universe. So after that...
For them.
Yeah. They went really fast from the wellness retreat to launching from Earth and going into the universe to try to find as many people as they could to bring into this wonderful, wonderful higher plane. So, similar to PAX, it's all just kind of, there's not really one home base country. It's a lot of little spaceships. They do still send, like, their clergy back to the seminary at the wellness retreat place, but for most day-to-day members of the faction, you're going to spend most of your life on a spaceship and occasionally, like, making ports of call at other spaceships, other planets, and going on mission trips is when you're going to spend the most time out of the spaceship. The church system is relatively hierarchical, and most members are humans, although anyone can join, except for robots, because robots are mechanical and metal and not truly alive, and thus cannot truly experience the universe the way that bio creatures can. So we are space racist against robots.
Cool.
Very sad.
It's fine, though, because PAX, you guys aren't robots.
Yeah, this is true. Fuck the robots, actually.
Yeah, so the way the hive mind works is everyone's kind of got it kind of like a running commentary in the back of your head that you basically tune out because you're very used to it because it's always been there. And during church services is when everyone kind of sinks together and it has this massive like rush, like emotional heightening, and that's kind of the thing that makes you stick in and stick with the cult, because like genuinely you are connected with thousands and thousands of people and they all love you and you love all of them. And
we had talked about perhaps a moss tea that might strengthen your connection.
It's usually only drunk by the clergy members to induce kind of the heightened state in church, but you know, if you manage to get some of the moss tea, it's enlightening.
I want you all to know that the look that Verdi is giving me, like I am just laying in the sofa and I look up and Verdi's just looking straight at me and I just went, fine, I guess I will make a comment about this. Moss? What color is the moss? Weird. That's just so bizarre.
My favorite character on the podcast is the psychic moss. I'm sorry.
You know what? Valid.
Yeah.
Same.
Y'all came up with these independently, and I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. That I realized, oh my god, it's the same moss.
God.
Maybe the moss is the actual god that everybody's looking
That's
for.
possible.
I think I solved it, guys. So the podcast is over. Thank you
found
for
God.
coming.
We did it.
Yeah, next time you see us, we will be working on something else. Goodbye, everybody.
No. Where was I? Oh, so church services is where everyone kind of connects to everyone on the ship and also everyone in the faction psychically, and just kind of picture a 50 to 100 person improv game where you're all moving at the same time. If any of you in the group or any of you listening have ever played like the shadowing improv game where you're mirroring a person's movements and you're kind of switching back and forth who's leading and who's following until you kind of don't know who's leading and who's following, it's like that, but more.
Nightmare.
A faction full of religiously charged theater kids.
Oh no.
Nightmare.
Yep.
Nightmare.
Yep.
I hate the moss now.
It's not the moss's fault it was found by a bunch of theater kids.
Just try to have a war with it. Just try. Just come to our planet and just try.
Just wipe it off.
Just wipe it off. Help, please.
You being held hostage by the moss.
Kind of.
So the aesthetic of the faction is kind of 1970s new age sci-fi covers.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Neons and swirling galaxy aesthetics and just lots of looking up into the universe at all times.
I'll make sure your extremely good Pinterest board makes it to the Tumblr.
I will do that. The crisis that we're facing is that we've gotten too big for the hive mind to actually work. It does kind of break down when we're crossing too much space and too many light years. So there's internal politics warring of whether we continue to expand and try to add more people and strengthen the hive mind and try to build the connection up that way, or whether we contract, draw back, try to start making some permanent settlements, and just kind of keep things... It's not that small, but keep things in stasis. And the space pope just died.
Hell yeah!
So everyone's kind of politicking to get their preferred next leader into the at the top.
Have you considered just giving it to whoever killed the Pope?
The Pope died of natural causes, as far as we know.
God is the new Pope.
I mean, isn't that always kind of the goal? So now that we've heard about these lovely Star Trek aliens and humans and humanoid robots, what very normal people do you want to tell us about, Maiden?
I'm sorry. I was told I could make aliens, and I was like, I'm not making Star Trek aliens.
Never apologize for being who you are.
That's boring as shit. So, I will introduce you to the UCR, also known as the United Chakirg Republic. That is CHKR''GH. No, the names don't get better from here. They are a technocracy. That is, they are a heavily bureaucratic society, but the main hook of them is that they are a species of sentient isopods in a parasitic/symbiotic relationship with a larger race of mammal hosts.
Bug
Basically,
faction!
it's what if those lice that, like, replace the tongues of fish? What if the fish they were in did the whale thing and came onto land, and the isopods came with them?
I love them.
So just to start off, the names here, parasite names always contain no vowels, and host names have no consonants. Your name as a person is a combination of the vowels of your host body and the consonants of your parasite body. So, in the same way, like, if you're in a different host, you have a different name, and you are societally considered to be a different person. Mm-hmm. It's like if every time you put on a new pair of pants, you had to get a new license for it. And that shapes a lot of how they view identity.
Do you have an example of how these names kind of fit together?
I do. For example, a parasite whose name is Vchtkadur, which is VCHT''KDR, inhabiting the host Oiaa, or Oeiaua, their full name would be Vosehit Kadura.
You sure did this on an audio podcast.
Don't worry, my actual podcast characters both have nicknames. They will be using those nicknames.
Thank God.
Can I confess something?
Yeah.
Can I confess something? As the one person here which English is not their main language, this means nothing to me. You're just saying words to me, and I'm just gonna like blank out for a second, and eventually I will read the nicknames and be like, "Thank you. I will use these ones because yes,
It's not better for me.
Oh, good. I must also confess, I don't know how to spell in English. So as again, you were talking and I was like, I do love those sounds. Those are great
Those
sounds.
are some great sounds.
It's just amazing. Thank you. So yeah, I will wait for those nicknames. Like sitting here, looking pretty. Thank you.
Yeah, so to get a little more into it, it's two species. The parasites are incredibly intelligent masters of biological and genetic engineering. This is basically a species that doesn't do technology. They never learned machines, instead they just breed increasingly specific species for their tasks. Instead of having a screwdriver, you might have some form of mammal whose spine has been fused and who has, like, a very specific bill shape. And if you need a slightly different screwdriver, you would just alter the DNA of that and have one grown with a different bill shape. It's very Flintstones, animals as tools, but everything is alive.
Gross.
I will also note that the lifespans are a bit weird. Hosts generally live like your average human, like 80 years, give or take. But parasites have incredibly long lifespans to the point that they're almost immortal. They're kind of like lobsters, where, like, if nothing goes wrong for them, they can theoretically live forever while becoming larger and larger.
Do they molt?
They do molt.
Did they ever get too big to be in a host?
No, you would just make a bigger host, but it is generally viewed like societally, once you get to about 300, 400, people will start to view you as kind of a drain on society. Like, why are you using up so many resources? Because you're likely going to need, like, an oversized special host to get you around. You're going to need multiple hosts to help you molt and help you do your daily tasks. You're going to need specialized housing because everything is very standardized. So it's very much viewed as, like, you could live forever, but once you get to a certain age, everyone's just kind of like, okay, buddy, let yourself die of natural causes
Go into
now.
the star.
Pretty much, yeah.
Come on, we're waiting.
The hosts themselves generally have closer to, like, animal intelligence. It was very much the parasites were like, we are just piloting these things, and they have moved from just, like, taking over the tongue and stealing nutrients to, like, taking over the brain stem and directly piloting these things. And they're like, why does your car need to be smart?
Yeah.
Ratatouille bugs.
They're smart enough that if the parasite leaves, the host isn't like an empty shell. It can, like, wander around and find sustenance of it on its own, but they're not intelligent, by and large.
This is fucked.
Yeah. Parasites are born via communal genetic slurry and raised in large pools until they're large enough to take hosts, which is around 10 years, but in human equivalent, that would be more like 2 years. Hosts can reproduce directly, but generally that doesn't happen. You'll just clone, like, when a parasite is old enough to take on a host of their own, they're given a clone of, like, the standard all-purpose host, and they're expected to, like, customize it as they go. Most parasites really only have one host, and they only really replace that host when it dies. If you have a very specific job, like if you're in, like, manufacturing, you might have a work host that is owned by the government, which certainly does bring up some interesting identity issues, but...
Bringing customer service voice to a whole new level, am I right?
What if you were a second person at work and you had a different name?
I mean,
there's a show about that.
That's just what it's like to not use your government name.
That is true. And since I've mentioned the government a few times, the faction as a whole is they're an incredibly xenophobic, expansionist society that, like, they took over their entire planet. Like, there were other species on this planet. They have long since been killed.
Oh.
They're like not in an outwardly hateful xenophobia way. It's not everyone different than us should die. It's everyone different than us is, like, inferior.
That's better.
What kind of idiot, like, uses rocks and sticks to make fire instead of just genetically altering a bombardier beetle so, like, it has flammable secretions?
Great.
This has largely been stopped by the fact that once you get to the planetary scale, it's really hard to expand if all you have is meat.
Great sentence.
I love that sentence.
Yes.
You can maybe get something up in orbit with a very, very specialized host for zero gravity, but if you're trying to move, like, troops over long light-year distances, there's not really a way that meat can get around that. So they're very much stuck in their little corner of the galaxy.
We are all so glad the meat bugs are trapped on their little rock.
So earlier you were joking about, oh, come do war with the moss?
Go for it. You know what?
The Chakurg probably would, and there's a decent chance they would win.
God, finally.
Freed from your chains.
Free us from the moss.
And they are very much an alien society. They see nothing wrong with the idea of, like, oh, my host's getting a little annoying. I'm just gonna do surgery on them right now without anesthesia.
Ooh, cool.
And, like, rewire their brain. And that's considered, like, the same thing as being like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, like, sit down and, like, patch a hole in my jeans. They have a very unusual morality system.
I love that for them. You know what? Slaves.
There's a lot more I could say about them, but I'd rather find that out in play, other than the fact that their current state of affairs is really... They're not in a great place right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's been long enough since they successfully took over their whole planet that their culture is really, really stagnating. And you have all these generations of kids, like, being brought up saying, like, we're these conquerors and we took over this planet, and then they're going, well, what are we doing now?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is, we can't figure out how to do space travel. And there's actually a wave of youth that are challenging a lot of these things. There are a lot of younger people who are using multiple hosts as fashion statements, and who are the parasite equivalent of gender fluid, where they'll change into different hosts on a whim, as opposing to the ideal of having a very function over form standard host that doesn't look that different.
Mm.
And the government is like, how the fuck do we deal with this? And they have recently initiated a system called the sabbatical system, which is basically sending these young parasites off-world. They can at least get them far enough off-world that they can get picked up by a spaceship, and basically being told, go out in the world and find out what different kinds of life have evolved on other planets, and bring that information back to us. And this is, by and large, just a way to send the younger generation out to die. Like, most people don't return from sabbaticals because they get found out and attacked by other races, or just... It's a big universe. Bad things happen.
Hard world for a little bug.
Yeah. To describe them a little more physically, generally the isopods they're like slate gray giant isopods. An adult is about the size of somewhere between a hamster and a guinea pig, like about the size of your palm. The really old government bureaucrats can get up to be the size of a small dog before people start going like, come on, man.
Thank you for these really adorable mammal-based size references for what is essentially a giant pill bug.
Yeah. I still think they're cute. Is
you know
important.
What? I bet they are.
Your average host is they're more Star Trek aliens. Your basic host is a roughly 5 foot tall, gray skinned humanoid alien that's kind of they kind of still have a little bit of fish in them. They've got the very like clammy, pale skin, probably vestigial webs on their hands and feet, but the reality is that looks are nothing because you can rewire your entire body for the sake of fashion.
I love your brain.
Love this.
How'd you think of all this? Does anybody have any questions about I'm gonna go for it, the United Chikahar Republic?
Can they remove heavy metals from the soil?
They can, in fact, remove heavy metals from the soil, but they wouldn't want to. What are you doing with metal? What do you need metal for?
Make everything shiny.
It's called bioluminescence.
Dang. Shay, right.
They have a comeback for everything.
We're not gonna win.
Fuck.
That's it.
The loss is coming for both of us.
Uh-huh.
They do also hate robots. I mean, obviously.
Everybody hates your little guys packs.
Hee hee, it's okay.
As long as no one ever finds out that they're robots, nothing will ever go wrong.
It's okay. We hate everybody. that is not part of our faction. So,
I wonder if the hive mind works on robots. Wait, we've just established that they don't.
Well,
We have absolutely established that it
well,
doesn't.
the
We
one
gotta
religion
just
says it
hook 'em up to the
doesn't.
we
Wi-Fi.
just have to hook them up to the Wi-Fi. The most Wi-Fi.
I'm just saying, only one religion has decided that it doesn't work.
That's true. Your religion says that building robots is how you find God, so...
Exactly. Maybe they're just doing it wrong, haha. We'll see.
Maybe.
We'll find out.
This
We
is,
will
this
find
is a
out.
podcast about whether or not robots can talk to God.
Yeah.
Sources differ.
Okay, now that we kind of know who the major players are, I also just want to go over this cool little solar system map as best I can. You'll be able to find this in the episode description or on whatever socials I end up setting up. Broadly, the first planet that we named is the one that Tetra and Umbra inhabit. They both have fish names, so it's called Thalassa, which is the Greek for sea, I believe. And we decided to kind of stick with that theming when we named all of the other planets. So first we have Sela, which is the sun. That's actually named after the coelacanth because wanted to have that be a variation on the theme. Then we have Lytus as the closest to the sun. Then there's Nerides, second closest. Thalassa, there's an asteroid belt, and then there's Pontus. Nerides, Thalassa, and Pontus are all in the habitable zone of the solar system. After that, we have a gas giant, Pelagius. And then finally, we have a planet that is known on Thalassa as Benthos, but that we will be calling Auzum. That is the planet the Chakurg are from. So they also probably have their own names for every planet. And, if you're trying to do good diplomatic relations, you probably call it Auzum. In general, these are the names of the planets that originate on Thalassa. Auzum is also orbited by the Splendor Soli. And then the family ships are just everywhere. They come from a different solar system. They are in... Is that, fair to say they're basically at every corner of the solar system, Molly?
Yes, they are mostly spread throughout habitable zone, but, they're just kind of all over the place.
I bet they're chilling in the gas giant somewhere. Why not?
They're like those people that stay in caravan parks all year round.
Yes.
Just going to different ones.
Mm-hmm. Fun fact on all the etymologies of these, the planets in the habitable zone are named after Greek gods, and then the planets outside of it are named after ocean, segments. So Lytus being the closest to the sun is the coastline, and then Pelagius is the main ocean area, and then Benthos is deep shit gets weird zone of the ocean. Speaking of shit getting weird, I invite you all to also look at the orbital chart. As you can see, Auzum's orbit is really fucked up. It is, instead of being a circle, it is a giant ellipse. And it orbits the opposite direction as all of the other planets. Fun fact about that, someone I showed this to that actually knows how space works told me that probably means that Auzum is a relatively recent addition to the solar system. And by relatively recent, this is space terms, which means it's still hundreds of millions of years old. But at certain points in the orbit, at its furthest point, Auzum is incredibly far away from the other planets to the point that most others probably don't even have to acknowledge it's there. At its closest, it is actually closer to the sun than Thalassa at times, and it intersects with all of the different planets' orbits. So what this means on a practical level is
especially considering the Chikurg are the one faction that does not have the capacity for long-term space travel. For most of the Chikurg rotation, they're kind of out of sight, out of mind. They're not close enough to hit, and they're not close enough to hit back. But how long do we think a Chikurg year is? Because realistically, it's like hundreds of years, but I want it to be a little shorter than that.
I think we could probably say like a full orbit for the Chikurg is like
100?
I was gonna say like 80, but yeah, 100, 125 is probably better.
Yeah, that's 100 is like a fun number.
Yeah.
Because what that means is once every 100 years, Ausum is so close that you can see it in the sky. And that's when people start to get a little bit nervous. And that is the current point of the orbits that we are in right now. If you can see that little purple dot, it just had a near miss with Thalassa. It was as close as it will be. It has moved a little bit further away, but it is about to come back and have another near miss. That really adds some tension to the air because we are in that once in a lifetime period where we really have to worry about what the Chikurg are doing, and we know they have an opportunity to do something, and we don't know what it's about to be. There's also like some fun stuff to think about with the Splendor Soleil being so isolationist, chose to attach themselves to Ausum. It's usually really far away and they don't have to deal with anything, and now they're stuck in the middle of the war. You know, all the good things. And I think there's also just like kind of a fun self-centeredness to the naming of the planets. Like, oh, we're the fish, and the sun is also a fish. And I think it was like Pontus and Thalassa are in mythology, they're consorts, and Pontus is a planet that I think has been pretty heavily colonized by Tetra. I love it when there's lore in the stars. And Mariana, you had said that Umbra is almost at the point of colonization, but not quite, correct?
Yes, I do believe Umbra is almost at the point of like colonization. They're ready for it. They've been waiting for this time to happen.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like they're a very serious nation now, just doing this. This is like, yeah, they have this in their mood board. Like, this is the Pinterest board. Like, they
it's in the vision
honestly, this
board.
is what they want. They're like, finally, we're ready for it. This is the first step. Then we're gonna for the galaxy. We're expanding. We're doing propaganda. We're doing better than the other guys. Just wait for it. We just need to do the first step. It's gonna happen anytime soon. So that's where,
And then at literally every state dinner, some diplomat is like, "So how are your colonies doing?"
yeah. And then every dinner, there's some weird accident happens to whoever bring it up. Just weird. We just don't know. It's like a curse. We don't know what's going on.
It's so
Yeah,
crazy
so weird.
how he choked on a fish
Never
bone.
ask.
Yeah.
Never ask a woman their age, a man their salary, or an Umbran how the colonies are going.
Just we accidents.
Yeah, you know. And finally, where does our podcast actually take place? We are on a space station called the Glorandrina, or La Glorandrina, if you, depending on what language you're speaking. That is currently orbiting Thalassa, and we'll talk about it in more depth when we actually start playing Kingdom. Any other questions, comments, concerns about the solar system?
I'm just having a fun time thinking about how fast Ausum is moving.
Oh, it's zooming!
They're just bopping around the solar system.
Yeah.
Like, so not only can you see them in the sky suddenly in Thalassa, they're like visibly moving really fast in the
They're
sky.
going. Oh my god.
I saw a Starlink satellite once. Mariana was there, and it was going so fast. I swear to God, I thought I was seeing like a UFO.
And I bet that
It was
that really
moving.
fucks with the tides on Thalassa too, since it's so
Oh
so
God,
much
you're
water.
right. I hadn't even considered that. Oh my God, you're causing
Oh,
tsunamis.
no.
Yeah. And we also talked about, like, the idea that because of that, the temperature on Ausum is, like, really weird, which, like, is fine for the Chikurg. They are, like, the supreme genetic engineers, and probably, like, the way I square the circle of this world building is probably that Ausum has, like, underground seas where the marine life that eventually turned into the race of hosts and the race of Chikurg evolved, and as their prowess increased, they were able to, like, bioengineer these enormous town-sized organisms that insulate them from the chill of space, and, like, made bacteria to build themselves an atmosphere and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, any other species would be going through a mass extinction event every 100 years as the climate just completely changes. But Chikurg can basically bioengineer their evolution on the fly to adapt to the changing conditions. Like, it's cool. I love the Chikurg because they are really this, like, they are the true aliens that are not playing the same game of physics and biology as the rest of us, and it's exciting, and I like that their planet also represents that.
They're weird. They're weirdos. Have you ever seen them without these weird fucking invertebrates on?
Shut up. Be
my
quiet. Quiet, you.
I'm never complimenting you again.
You asked me to come up with some fucked up aliens, and I was like, okay, boss.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm over here like, my character is green.
Okay, boss, what if the entire embassy was a living, breathing thing?
Is Glorandrina in danger of getting pulled into Ausum's orbit at any point?
No, asterisk. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of my mind, the asterisk says, that would make an interesting crossroads, huh? Filing
So
that
yeah,
away.
the answer is probably they did a lot of math about it when they put it up there, and they think probably not, but who knows?
Oh, yeah. I imagine there is, like, an entire war room dedicated to constantly tracking the position of Ausum and, like, where it's going to be at any given moment and how that math affects everything.
Yay.
Imagine being a cult of isolationist robots, and you're like, oh, cool. This planet that there's no possible way things could live on is, like, messing everything up. Let's just go over there. And now for the rest of your life, you have to keep tabs on the bug fuck planet until you die.
They literally made an entire moon, and sometimes it just stares at you with an eye as big as your space station.
No, look at the map. The Vishnu superorganism is a lot bigger than the Splendor Soli. Like, a lot.
To be fair, that mark for the Splendor Soli is also probably a lot bigger than the Splendor Soli. That is not to scale.
Oh, man.
I know poor Pyrite is, like, throwing up and crying about it.
It's even funnier because the Vishteo superorganism didn't go into orbit until after the Splendor Soli docked there, so they had no idea. They were like, there's nothing in orbit here. It kind of needs something to balance out its orbit. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then, 10 years later, you find out that not only is that planet inhabited by the most insane fuckers you've ever seen, they had their own plan, and it's staring at you.
Alright, with that lovely visual, I think it is time to introduce our characters.
We're going to all be playing characters who have, for one reason or another, left their faction and found themselves on an isolated space station somewhere in the star system. That will be our kingdom. So, before we introduce the kingdom itself, I would love to introduce our characters. Each player will have a main character and a minor character. Your main character is more of your traditional PC in a game like this, and your minor character is your pet NPC, essentially. Because this is a GM-less game, we do all take shared ownership over the things like NPCs, environmental storytelling, and each character in Kingdom has a role in the kingdom. This is what in this game will replace kind of your race or class from a more traditional RPG. These are roles that describe a character's place in the kingdom. Each player should pick one as a starting point for the character. Your role is a critical part of the game, but can switch later on, so don't worry about being stuck. You have powers, you have authority over the kingdom, you decide what the kingdom does and what it doesn't do. Perspective, you understand the kingdom, both its merits and flaws. You can foresee the consequences of the decisions the kingdom makes. And Touchstone, who really understands the way that the decisions that are made are going to impact the people, and are, again, a touchstone for how the people of the kingdom feel about what's going on. So, with all of that, we'll introduce our main characters first, and then we'll go and talk about our minor characters in a little bit less detail. My main character's name is, Natalina, untitled servant to the glorious municipalities of Tetra, eldest of the family Sardonius, who served her three with devotion. Yes, that whole thing is the name. Something I did not go over in faction creation is that Tetrans have the just most atrocious naming convention I could think of. You can just call her Talia.
The worst naming convention you could think of, and yet...
Yeah, I really wanted the worst naming convention possible, and then you popped in like, what if there were no vowels on this audio podcast?
Most complicated Tetran name versus simplest Trikurg name.
I'm in hell.
We're all in hell.
Alright. She, fair pronouns, and will be starting as a power. So, Talia... So she's kind of like like middle-aged woman, mid-40s, like nice green, like pastel green skin, platinum blonde hair that's in a really awkward, like growing out buzz cut that she usually like wears a nice pretty bandana over. She also has burn scars on fair torso, on her arm, going up the neck, and to fair face. Extra set of eyes on the shoulder blades. If I was going to cast someone to play Talia in the movie version, I would choose Cate Blanchett. With this character, I really want, like, there's a lot of ways to be a power in Kingdom. You can be the king and be a power because you're the king and people have to listen to you, but you can also be the king and be a touchstone if you're really connected to your community. I wanted to be someone that's like people listen to her because she's the one that's going to come in with soup. People listen to her because Fair, like, the person that will just sit there and like listen to you talk about your problems all night. Just, nice, like, station mom friend, knows how to be well liked. The burn scars all come because, Faye was maybe involved in that little peasant mob. Perhaps. Don't worry about it. Fair husband was a revolutionary and died during the insurrection. Pretty much believes that her position is very tenuous right now if the cards come up that, yes, the queen is dead, and yes, like, the peasant mob was responsible for it, then Faye's gonna be fine. But if any other outcome is decided, she will be considered an accessory to a failed assassination, and that will be really, really bad. So, fled the planet for her own safety. And, wait out the conflict, see what happens, and if we, in fact, have completed this glorious uprising, then I can go back and have a great time in the new world that we're building. Yeah, someone's got to show up to the revolution with soup, and that's Talia. Alright. Who would like to go next?
I think I will go next.
Alright.
So, my character, her full name is Amaranto de las Gardenias. Yes, you all have to practice that.
Mhm.
I want the perfect Spanish pronunciation from all of you. Thank you. It's the only way
to say
yeah.
Chictader.
Mm-hmm. So this is the only way I can, make it fair. You can call her Admiral Amara. Her pronouns are she, hers. And her starting kingdom role is perspective. When I created this character, I really want somebody who really, really wanted to be a power. But what if instead of being a power, she is a perspective instead?
Mm-hmm.
So she just, she wants power in general, outside of the roles of kingdom.
And what's really funny to me about specifically the kingdom roles is, in a more traditional way, to be a power, you have to be elected to a role of power. In kingdom, to be a power, people just have to listen to you.
Yeah.
And nobody just...
No.
You want power so bad, but you can't even get people to listen to you.
No, that is the whole thing. That is the whole thing. And you know what? Amaranto, she is very good at her job.
Mm-hmm.
And her main focus in life, to be honest, is her job.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, her social skills do not compute very well with that.
What is her job?
Well, she used to be in the military. She used to have a very high position. And kind of she's still in that high position, except that she still have her job, which is being, high position in the military.
Mm-hmm.
She controls certain people under her.
Kind of a political advisor.
She is kind of a political advisor. She just need to, get up the ladder, 3 times more, maybe, and she gonna get, the good power that she wants and deserve. Except that her, quote-unquote boss, didn't like that.
A little too close to actual power.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too close to that. Maybe she's very good with knives and poison and getting up.
Those are normal hobbies for girls.
Absolutely normal hobbies for girls. So her boss was kind of like, girlie, what if we send you away? And that's why she's here.
What's the word for when you're a diplomat?
On assignment?
Yeah, a diplomat?
Yeah.
that when you're a diplomat, yeah. She's in a diplomatic mission to her kingdom. Except that the diplomatic mission is gonna last, forever.
For the rest of her life?
Maybe? Fun. Yes, maybe, probably.
Cool.
She didn't like that. So she's trying, she has a little revenge on her mind, in her heart, a little power that she wants to get in the future. She's a woman with a lot of desires.
Yeah. Who could blame her?
Right. And just to have a little description of her, she is around 35 years old. Her skin is a little pale bluish. She have a beautiful eye on her forehead, like almost everybody in her race. And any other physical description, can appear in the beautiful drawing that we're going to show you.
She has a halo.
She have a halo, of course she does, because
halos are sick.
They are sick, and she always uses her military uniform. A lot of straight lines.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be beautiful, guys. Just believe me. You will see the drawing that I'm gonna
Always wears gloves because fuck the hive mind.
We are not touching. Nobody touch me.
Must be nice for her to be somewhere that other people don't have the hive mind.
It is great. She's having a blast. There's so many secrets she can keep.
Yeah. I love secrets.
She loves secrets. I love secrets.
Hell yeah.
I know you love secrets.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's it for now. The rest we will figure it out once we play.
Who is next? Pax.
So my main character is Citrine. That is his only name. Doesn't have a last name. He goes by...
So much mercy.
Yeah. Ha ha ha.
That name.
Everybody else was like, I'm gonna come up with 13 different names. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. How about one name? Is that okay? Fuck. I really hate coming up with names, guys. So Citrine uses he, him pronouns, just a guy. He's so normal and human. So he's around like mid-20s, around there, looks around that age. If you asked him what his age was, he wouldn't be able to tell you. He sort of came to this station really early in his life with his older brother and has been living here for quite some time, just kind of being a kid and growing up in this station. So he, in that way, is the kind of perfect role for a touchstone, as he is literally one of the oldest residents in the station. A mechanic as well. He kind of like picks up everything, kind of like your resident tradesperson. If you have like a problem and you don't know how to fix it, you will probably go to Citrine and see if he can help fix it for you, because boy knows his way around a screwdriver. Yeah, I don't... Good for him, yeah. I do have art of him, which we can post, probably. I have a lot of art of him, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, thank you for your service populating
Hopefully,
our Tumblr.
yeah. So yeah, he's my little guy. He's out here just living his life. Green hair, kind of like tan olive-ish skin. Has like short hair, but has like a single braid and has some moles, because I cannot design a character without giving him like moles. I just need them. It's like, why have like a plain-faced character, right? Yeah, the only other thing about him is that he has a little brother that he recently sent off to school, and he's quite lonely nowadays. That's about it, I think.
All right, Molly.
Yeah. So, my main character is Bishop Junivane Wistrid, who was of the ship Diligence. She currently goes by just June. Pronouns are she, her, and her starting role is a power. So she was kind of in the upper echelons of the cult's clergy. Think kind of like assistant pastor in a mega church level. She is a true believer and thought that the family was the way to both metaphysically and practically save all people. But as she got higher and higher up in the actual power structure, the more corruption she saw. And once she finally confronted the church leadership about that, she was thrown into space to die as a heretic.
As you do.
As you do, you know. I mean, you've got space right out there, just right through the airlock. You can just toss people out there. Through a fully random set of coincidences, which is obviously God stepping in, she survived and landed on the spaceship. Since God saved her, she wants to save the church and bring it back to its true purpose.
Just the ideal character arc. Shot into space, survived through a noodle incident. Clearly, this is evidence that I was right and God loves me most.
Exactly. This is how churches get born. That's how it works.
Yeah.
She's mid to upper 40s, so like 45, 48, somewhere around there. Looks, basically, I'm just thinking of Demi Moore, current day Demi Moore. That's what she looks like. Just really intense cheekbones, really intense eyes. That's June.
Us as the cheekbone women.
Big fan.
I feel like you've got some cheekbones going.
Yeah, there's a lot of cheekbones going.
Cheekbone squad.
Yeah. Yes. Perfect.
Sorry,
name.
the word in my head was cheekbone milk conglomerate. I figured I shouldn't say
my
that.
God.
But now I said it.
No.
So.
Leave it in. Leave it in.
Yes, leave it in. Actually, that was perfect. I support it.
That's our podcast. The cheekbone milbs. The nice little boy and a bug.
It's perfect, actually.
Yeah.
That's the name I like.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you mention her role?
Yes, she is a power.
Okay, just double checking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, my major character is Zichtmig. Usually goes by Zicht or just Y. Pronouns he, she, they, it, and anything else you can come up with.
I'm taking that as a challenge.
Yeah, go for it. Their starting kingdom role is perspective. They're very weird for a perspective because they can foresee the ramifications of actions, but the things they choose to have perspective on is very weird. They don't give a shit about, politics or the people. They're just gonna be like, oh yeah, if you change those rations, that will absolutely devastate the local trout
Oh my god.
population."
We're in space. Do we have a trout population?
Yes.
We do now.
Shit. Yeah, you're right.
You think Zicht isn't bringing a whole bunch of fish with her?
Play to find out.
He is about 85, but in human equivalent, that means they're around early 20s, like 21, 22.
Not part of the milk squad.
Roughly the size of a large hamster.
Important.
Yay.
Just a slate gray isopod, however
What species of hamster?
Syrian.
Thank you.
Like a large Syrian.
Yes, the specificity is important to me.
How big?
Just a slate gray isopod, however, it does have a single, cartilage piercing beside its
god.
face.
Fuck yes!
Hell yeah.
The most common form Z uses is a 20-foot-long, 6-eyed feathered serpent. It has, 6 or 7 different forms that it switches from based on God knows what, just whatever the vibes are at the moment. But that's that, and
I hope to God someone likes us enough to draw that shit.
yeah, if you want to draw cool fan art that isn't just, Star Trek aliens, I have a whole fucking menagerie for you.
You could
Trust me.
literally draw anything and just say that it's Zicht.
Yeah, pretty much.
Draw some cool creatures and send them in.
Audience participation.
Yeah, fan art contest. Decide Zicht's new host. Draw me a cool alien. And you, too, can be part of podcast canon.
Hell yeah.
Zicht is a breakout star surgeon known for their eccentricities. They are one of those weird youths who is essentially the bug version of gender fluid.
Mm-hmm.
This is evidenced by the fact that they have a Y in their name. The joke being that Y is sometimes a vowel, so Y is the universal, you put a Y in your name to denote that your identity stays similar between all your hosts, because the Y comes with you.
Interesting.
In fact, no matter what host they're in, they don't change their name based on their host. It's not like they don't have 6 different names. They just always go by Zichtmig. They're considered very unusual by their society because, for someone who's as successful a surgeon as them, it would have been so easy for him to just get, a cushy government job in some ministry and not do that much work and just have a really comfortable life. But instead, Zicht became obsessed with the idea of the fact that they're going to be the one who solves this problem. They're going to figure out how to make space travel work with organic technology. And instead of being forced into a sabbatical, it actually, signed up for one. And has been traveling the universe for about 10 years as of the start of this campaign. And this space station is just the newest place that they've decided to settle down.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. So that is it for our major characters. We can go around one more time, do our minor characters real quick, and then probably take a little break. Okay. So we're back around to me. My minor character's name is Callista, 1st Unit Foot Soldier, serving the glorious municipalities of Tetra, 4th child of the House Delacroix, whose title is as of yet unbequeathed. Callista, or Callie if you're, like, real familiar. She's her pronouns. 17 years old. And she's a child soldier. Woohoo!
Love those.
When the uprising happened and the the fires, the city-state's military, the loyalist factions basically are pulling everyone they can into service to try and solve the peasants burned down the palace problem. So she kind of got pulled from whatever Tetra's version of JROTC is, into, like, active duty. Somehow just immediately either got taken prisoner or, like, crashed her ship and now is on this space station, and how is she gonna get her mom to love her and prove that she can be the bestest space soldier in the world if she's stuck on this spaceship? She's so frustrated. Also, she's blue. That's important to me.
I love her.
I do too.
I'm so sorry for her mommy issues.
I think I may or may not have mentioned this, but in Tetra, because of the whole hereditary military officership, but also you can kill people to, like, get it instead. It's not inherited to the oldest child, it is inherited to the most capable child, which over the generations has kind of, like, become... Nobles will just run Hunger Games for their children to see who the most capable child is, but her mom was a commoner that did kill for her title, and believes that child Hunger Games is what's making this generation weak.
Oh, great.
So that's the mommy issues we're dealing with here. She's also
level.
the #1 fencing champion in her age bracket and keeps a meticulously cared for fish tank.
She's so normal.
Love that we have a character with mommy issues on a spaceship full of MILFs.
Oh, that is
Why did you
true.
say that like they're a species?
The MILFs are propagating.
They're an invasive species. Everybody get away. We need to kill them.
You can try.
Voice, did someone say call?
Shut up.
Oh my god. Alright. Tell me about your minor character, Mariana.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, okay.
No more MILF talk.
I always welcome MILF talk. But yes, let's keep moving about this for a second. Okay, my minor character. Let's see. His full name is Titian de la Dalla. You can call them Tian. Their pronouns are he, they. He's a minor character. Well, I could love for all of you to see my notes. It's basically 3 words.
Yeah.
It's so short. And I already say all of them. So now we are in the just...
Like, what's his deal?
Yeah. Here we are. It's directly from my brain. His age, he looks like around 22.
Mm-hmm.
He also have the extra eye, the little halo, the whole business. The drawing will be posted somewhere in space in the internet. You will see it, maybe, who knows, hopefully. His little job in this military society was basically he kind of like intern / secretary / assistant of my main character, and he is completely opposite of Amara, he hates working. He doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to be here. And the second they sent her away, he was like, I volunteer to just go with you. I am such a good person.
Me too, brother. I get it.
Right? Exactly. He just want to go to this station, stay there, drink space margaritas, just have a good time. He hates working. Like, why are we doing this?
Finally escaped his military dictatorship.
Oh, yeah. Like, truly, they're living their best life. This is great.
I'm so proud of them. Aspirational.
Aspirational. And, of course, every time, like, Amaranto tells them to do anything, he's just kind of like, yeah, I'm doing that. Just
Do they do it, or do they just say yeah?
they just say yeah a lot.
Hell yeah.
Like, they do a little bit just so, she doesn't kill him.
So he's just doing enough work that they don't get killed.
Exactly. Which I think, slay, work is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Don't work.
Yeah. He just here for a good time, not a long time, etc., etc.
Oh boy.
And that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Pax.
So, my minor character is Citrine's little brother, Cinnabar, who would actually be known by his serial number, but we're not getting into that. Cinnabar is about 3. He's just been essentially made and is being put out there into the world for the first time. So he's
Still
around.
knows that he's a robot.
He knows he's a robot, which is quite new. Everybody else doesn't, but everybody else, he doesn't know about everybody else. But yeah, he's one of the first generation of robots that seem to remember that they're robots, and he's very normal about it, which is the least of his problems, because he's also started to see visions of God. And he's not exactly sure if that's normal or not, so he's just going to keep on pretending like it is normal. So he's off at boarding school, essentially, inside the station, and has found himself alarmingly popular after predicting answers to a multiple choice exam in school. So that's what his deal is.
Incredible.
I love him.
Me too.
He's very normal and very well adjusted, and there's nothing wrong with him. Please don't look at his collection of videotapes. It's all fine.
What? Okay. Molly.
All right. So my minor character is Rainwood Calliope of the ship Hope, and when they were on Hope, everyone called them Rain, but they have recently run away from the cult and are trying to distance themselves from it, so they go by Cal now. Pronouns are they, them. They're about 21, also human, and like 5'5"-ish, freckles. I don't have really many thoughts on how they look beyond that.
I'm sure they were really, really happy that a bishop from the cult they fled just, showed up one day.
Well, see, they've been really lonely without... Oh, I don't know if I explained this when I was talking through the hive mind for my cult, but when you leave, you get totally cut off from the hive mind, and your name gets erased from the ship.
Oh.
So yeah. So you're still kind of you're still considered a person. You're still it's very similar to kind of shunning.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. So people can still talk to you, but they can't mind meld with you. And so you'll, after going from your entire life, you've been using both, like, verbal and mind-to-mind communication to, like, just verbal, is really, really isolating and jarring. And you can occasionally work your way back into the cult and, like, be brought back in. But Cal didn't want to do that and just kind of ran away, found this spaceship, and have spent the last year kind of trying to build up a new group of friends and just be like, hey, is this normal or is this cult shit? Can you help me figure that out? And
this is a great group of people to be asking that question to. Hey, Citrain, what do you think about cults?
So they really, really miss being in the cult, but they also, like, this is the first time they haven't had someone watching them all the time. But yeah, they are meta-narrative. They're very vulnerable to what June is kind of selling when she arrives on the spaceship in terms of fixing the cult. So yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's, like, no other cults that they could get brought into on this ship.
No, this seems like a very normal cult-free spaceship.
Yeah.
None being made, none already here. It's all good.
Yeah.
Everyone here is so normal.
And well-adjusted.
Cal is very normal, very well-adjusted, no mommy issues to speak of.
Yeah, speaking of
them.
Normal, well-adjusted people with no mommy issues, Maiden. I was referring to your character.
Which character?
Speaking of normal, well-adjusted people with no mommy issues, Maiden, would you like to introduce your character?
Sure. My secondary character is, let me just get her name up here, Wosero Alfudai. Which I could spell, but I won't, because she doesn't even really go by that name. Unlike Zicht, she is very conscientious of how annoying Chikurg names are to pronounce for people who aren't insects, and she just goes by Wilfred. She has such a normal name. She, they.
That's a host name.
Yeah, Wilfred is a parasite and a host.
And they're accompanying Zicht, or?
Yes, I'm getting to that. Pronouns are she, they. They're about 35, and that is in host years, not in parasite years. Nobody really knows how old the parasite is. They're, unlike most other hosts, their skin is more iridescent. It looks gray, but in the light it kind of has that beetle wing shine. And most notably, they have a see-through forehead. Think like barrel-eye fish, where, like, their entire front of their brain and their eyes is, like, see-through. So you can see a little isopod up in there, skittering around sometimes.
Gross.
They signed up to chaperone, for lack of a better word, Zicht on Zicht's sabbatical, because they were hoping to be able to just ditch and go do their own thing, and very quickly realized, if I leave, Zicht is going to do horrible things to someone or die. So they have very reluctantly, like, started being Zicht's kind of reluctant minder. They are the Watson to Zicht's Holmes. They are kind of the sensible one of the pair, and the one who has to go around apologizing when Zicht does something very stupid and insults someone.
Your character and Mariana's character just, like, chillin', drinking space margaritas, like, bosses.
Yeah,
what they deserve.
pretty much.
Just the margaritas, not the bosses.
No one deserves bosses.
Wilfred is a mid-30s woman who just wants to drink beer and go fishing, and instead got stuck dealing with the most insufferable isopod known to man. Or other species, I guess.
I understand.
All right.
There you go.
That's our characters. So the final step of character creation is our character bonds. Describe your connection to the character to your left. In our case, we're going to do the character below us in this Discord call. Say what you need from them and what makes the relationship difficult. Below me is Maiden. You said you had an idea for what our relationships could be?
Yeah, I think you've described that, like, your character has, like, burn scars and injuries from this civil uprising that she was caught in. So I think the simplest thing you could need from Zicht is, like, medical treatment. Whether that's direct, like these burn scars are, like, not properly healed, or even just cosmetic, like, I don't want to have burn scars anymore. Depending on how she feels about them.
So one of the things about this is for some reason, that bond makes the relationship tense. Is there a reason why you wouldn't want to give me medical treatment, or why getting medical treatment would be challenging?
I think Zicht has a lot of better things to do. Like, Zicht is here because Zicht wants to, like, solve the problems with his civilization. They want to, like, be doing research and cataloging life forms and learning about the spaceship. She does not want to be putting burn cream on a scar. So I think that might be kind of the relationship where your character is constantly bugging Zicht, like, hey, can I have some medical treatment? You are the ship's doctor. And Zicht being like, no, I don't want to do my job.
I think there's also maybe a kind of wider relationship that's like, I want you to see the small picture. You are so caught in the big picture that, like, yeah, okay, you want to solve all society's problems. So does everybody. Let's make sure that we all eat next week.
Yeah. Zicht is also someone who very much doesn't... She doesn't see the human in things. It's very much like people as a means to an end. He won't take care of someone because he cares about them. He'll take care of someone because they have information he wants, or because they can do something. And I think your character being the person who has the soup and someone who's very much like a social person is very much like, what the fuck is your perspective on life, dude?
Like, I am a character that wants people to be taken care of.
Yeah, this goes beyond, like, the burn scar thing is the inciting incident, but it also is like, if you won't take 5 minutes to give me, like, some vitamin E cream for my scars... What happens if someone loses an arm? Are you going to tell them to just go walk it off because you wanted to go, like, look at a cool fish?
Is somebody, like, being able to use all of their limbs not part of the big picture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty interesting relationship.
Yeah. I want you to care! God damn it! Right. So, Maiden.
Yes, and the person below me is Pax and Citrine.
Yes.
And again, I think there's also a pretty obvious connection with Zicht and Citrine, where, unlike a lot of people, Zicht isn't so, like... A lot of Shakur would just look at the idea of, like, using technology for a faster-than-light warp drive and be like, that's stupid. I don't even want to know how they did that. It's obviously, like, inferior to whatever we do. But Zicht is very much someone who's willing to be like, okay, how does that work? And how can I can, like, reverse engineer it with organics? So Zicht very much wants, like... She wants Citrine to teach him about how does a spaceship work?
And I think it'd be really, really interesting if Citrine just is like, the vibes are terrible here. And also, I'm more interested in robotics. So it's very much the, like, can you make a poster for me of, like, mechanical questions of the ship? You know? Like, I'm not a graphic designer. Please talk to someone else.
And I think they kind of have a rivalry going around where anytime Citrine fixes, like, Citrine has to go fix the food replicators, and does, and Zick just immediately is like, why the fuck are you doing it like that? Like, why don't you simply have cows that grow to full age in 3 hours and perfectly season themselves?
Yeah, and Citrine is like, because that's
and
fucking
Citrine's
gross.
just like, because our way is easier? Like, they have this dumb little slap fight over whether organics or mechanics are better.
Yeah, and meanwhile Citrine is like, do not look at my weird robot garage. You're not allowed to look at that.
Yeah, if you ever met my little brother, you would throw him out of an airlock.
Me, however, I'm normal and fine. Do not turn me into a host.
He's so...
Haha.
Oh my god. Alright. Pax.
Mm-hmm.
So your turn for a relationship with Mariana's character.
Yeah.
If you want me to talk a little bit more about my character, in a sense that what they are doing in the kingdom, like what is the vibe they're bringing to the table?
Yeah.
I don't know if that could help.
Yeah, because you mentioned they're on a diplomatic mission, right? Like a quote unquote diplomatic mission, right?
Yes, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole vibe that she have, like getting into this like quote unquote diplomatic mission, is one of like she have things to do. She wants to create this or little kingdom, basically wants to make a small version of her faction in this space station that we have.
Satellite Umbra.
Yeah, basically Umbra 2.0 kind of thing, where she is the main power finally, because in her mind she knows how to actually make it work. She thinks that everything is about like having an order and having everything planned as it should be. It will work out for everybody, because even when, you know, her motivations are a little bit cloudy, she wants to work for the good of society in a way, in her fuck of mind. This is what kind of was happening. The problem is that, yeah, she wants to be the sole power of this. She wants to control everything. She wants to make all the lists, all organizations. She knows she can do it. So yeah, she's a very rigid and strict person. She's always on her uniform, but she will do things like she will go to the point. If you ask her to do, like, if your views and her views have the same, you know, thing, she will work for it.
Yeah.
She's, you know, that's kind of like her whole thing. The vibe. She do have a whole thing that she wants to do with the kingdom, but at the moment, don't worry about it. That's fine.
Right now, she's just lending a helping hand.
Yeah, right now she just wants to work out.
How is she, like, socially with everybody that lives there right now? Like, does she mingle with people, or is she more of, like, take a step back and kind of work a little behind the scenes?
She's more of a take a step back. She could love to be a social person and to, like, be great with these mind games. She's not.
Yeah, if she was good at mind games, she'd still be an Umbra.
Yeah, if she was good, exactly. If she was good at mind games, she could still be an Umbra. She have her plans. She's just not very good at socializing. She doesn't know why, but apparently she gets read very badly. She's just not a good person to talk to. The good person to talk to is my minor character, but her, not so much. She just stand on a side and say things.
Big, like, boss at a pizza party vibes.
Yes, exactly. Boss in a pizza party vibe. That is, thank you. That's exactly what it is. And then she says something and it's not funny, but people just kind of laugh. Out of, you know.
Yeah.
Out of obligation for it, really.
Yeah.
So, I'm wondering then if it's kind of like an interesting route to take where Citrine kind of sees that the station does need leadership and does need people who care, but he wants her to like, get a fucking grip? You know, like, and, like, actually, like, talk to people instead of just kind of, like, looming over them, you know? So
you can't rule the kingdom if you don't know anybody's name.
literally. So I think Citrine is kind of, like, a presence in, like, because he's the person everybody calls, right? So he kind of, like, sees her as, like, a viable candidate for someone to take charge, but someone that needs to, like, actually talk to people. So he's kind of, like, you know how in, like, movies...
Coaching me?
Yeah, you know how in movies they have the assistant that whispers into people's ears, like, who this person is, how they should know them before they, like, greet
Yes.
someone? That is essentially what Citrine is trying to do. And he's like, can this girl fail? #girlboss, please take a hint.
And you're not even doing that out of, like, you're not trying to grab power by trying to be, like, the power behind this throne.
Absolutely not.
You just want her to be a good leader.
And I feel that's where the conflict comes from. I believe you're doing this because you want to be the one, like, manipulating everything. And even if sometimes I listen to you because, you know, good ideas, it's fine. I'm still mad about it because I'm like, you cannot manipulate me. I already have an assistant, and the assistant is out there, like, drinking margaritas in another, like, part of the station.
The assistant is stuck in a vent somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The assistant is in some, like, janitor's closet with Wilfred popping some beers.
Yes, absolutely. I think that worked pretty well.
I don't know. I kind of like this idea of Citrine definitely seeing that there needs to be something done and to kind of, like, scout out a person who has at least somewhat good intentions. Like, that's debatable, of course, but, like, someone he registers as having, like, good intentions and then just trying his best.
She truly is trying her best, and in her mind she have good intentions, and I think that's what matters.
Yeah. Or at least someone that is looking towards quote-unquote the greater good, you know, as much as that is, like, a thing that can't be quantified. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Alright, so, Mariana, what in God's name do you want from June?
I have no idea. I think you need to talk to me about a little bit more like, what's the vibe in the station so I can, like, try to figure out what I want.
I mean, she is, like, one of the powers that people listen to.
Yeah, but let's make it a little bit more personal.
You want some of
I
that
want a little
secret
bit
sauce.
more. Give me some more. Some spice. Tell me more.
I think June has kind of set up shop as the ship's, like, counselor.
Oh, God.
Oh, you're our therapist?
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
This is just like Narcanon.
But, so, which is not making June, like, the perspective or the touchstone, because she's not actually listening all that much. She's just connecting. But she is very much getting to know the ship and getting to know what people want. And no.
I feel like that may be what my character wants from you. Maybe some information and some understanding, since we already talked about the fact that
You want her to break HIPAA guidelines and tell them about what's happening in therapy.
Yes, basically, I want your records. Give me the secrets. Like, Amaranto is not good with people. She cannot just go out and read people and understand what the fuck do they want. So, yes, maybe I want your secrets you have. Give me the records. That's all. Please.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah. And I think the difficulty there is, why would I give you the records?
Because it's for the greater good. Because I am great at this.
Exactly.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is June a part of the Umbran hive mind, and vice versa, by nature of both of you have moss-induced hive minds? Or is there not crossover?
I mean, I feel like it might, but I feel something they have not figured out yet because Amara doesn't touch people.
Yeah.
And that's how the hive mind usually works, at least in her part of her species. So, yes, that's a good idea. Yes, we will figure it out in game.
Hell yeah.
If she ever take her gloves off. At the moment, it's a mystery for you, for me, for everybody listening.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Minor sidebar, I really love that we have 2 hive mind species and neither of them is the bug race.
Yeah. Mine is entirely humans.
Yeah.
Mines are something.
Yeah, I really love the implication that, like, Earth existed and probably does still exist.
It still exists. They got a seminary.
We send him to missionary camp there.
It's what it deserves.
It truly is.
They out
The
there.
Earth has become Catholic.
It
Oh my God.
kind of partly is, isn't it?
Earth has become Lutheran.
Oh.
Even worse. But yeah.
Alright. And now you just need something that you want out of little old me.
I just want to get you to know you better.
Do you think I seem vulnerable?
Yes.
Oh god.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes, I think you seem very vulnerable. And I'm just here to provide a listening ear.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a committed revolutionary, obviously. Don't look at me like that.
I'm not doing. I didn't say anything.
Just like pop you open like an oyster and scoop the secrets out.
Oh my
man.
god.
And then give them to me.
Oh
Thank
my god. Do not give them to her. We are military enemies. She is not allowed to know my You can violate HIPAA in other ways. But not...
Oh, can I?
No! Shit!
How so?
Man.
In what ways? Describe them.
Describe them.
Quickly.
Wait, what's our what rating is our podcast?
Let's keep it an edgy PG-13.
There we go.
An edgy PG-13 where you get to say fuck all you want.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think the main thing June wants out of everyone is their secrets, but you seem to have a lot and some interesting ones.
And I think I do have this very persona of of course I'd love to listen. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to make sure you're taken care of. And you get out of this conversation and you think wow, we're so close, and you realize you know nothing about her. She has said nothing about herself. Faye is the kind of person that is good at listening because Faye doesn't talk.
And I think also, just in terms of society structure, June is interested in learning more about kind of the more military expansion side of things, because the church is kind of falling apart because they don't have any sort of military power, and so June is just kind of exploring all of her options.
Hey, there's an estate church in Tetra, and I am trying to build a glorious new world.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think the reason this is complicated is because any attempt to open my shell is met with a resounding, "Who the fuck are you?" Get out of my head. You can have my hospitality, but you will not know me. So that's all of our bonds. I think, unless anybody has anything they want to get in last minute, that's good for today. Thank you all so much for joining me, and thank you to everybody that listened. I'm really excited about this group of characters and seeing what happens when we actually get to put them on their feet. True. You know what? I might as well get her full name on screen, which is actually even more obnoxious. It is Nautilus Zirconium, who holds the title Supreme.
Supreme.